What's up, everyone? Welcome back. This is Nerdly Out Loud, the official channel of nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home for all your news, reviews, and exclusive interviews. My name is Kevin Halden. We are going to be getting straight into this review because this review is probably the 90th review you have watched of the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. That is right. No Way Home is finally out. We finally got the end of this trilogy. I am buzzing on one front, not so much buzzing on another front. When it comes to rating this movie, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Maybe when I'm talking about things, it'll all just spill out and I'll finally figure out what was going on or what I think about the movie. But as it stands right now, I'm kind of on the fence. But we will get into that, and I will say that I am fully aware that this movie has only just come out. Not everybody has seen it, although it is smashing box office records already, like opening Thursday night, opening weekend. Awesome to see. Happy to see superheroes still making the mega bucks on the big screen. I will keep this primarily spoiler-free in the first half of my review, but then we will be moving into the second half of the review a little bit later on, where I'll be giving some spoilers, because I got some stuff I need to get off my chest, get off my mind, talk about, and hear what other people are thinking. I'm not going to ruin this movie for anybody. Please do all of those magical, wonderful things that we all ask you to do, and I've been asking on every single episode just now. And if you haven't already done it, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like down below, and ding that notification bell. The notification bell will let you know whenever I have a new episode, new review, new anything dropping on our channel. And I've got loads of new stuff coming up. I've been watching a ton of stuff that we're going to be getting into. I've recently interviewed a couple of awesome directors. I grew up with those Spider-Man movies, and this trilogy hasn't really been firing on all cylinders for me. Like, I've enjoyed them and I've watched them, but I'm not really that fussed. And to be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for how awesome Tom Holland is, I probably would have checked out, in the first movie. But I didn't. I kept on going. Tom Holland wins the day for me. I love me a bit of Tom Holland. But the great thing about my experience here when I went to the cinema for No Way Home was that I went with my 13-year-old daughter. And now I have to say, like, I feel like the MCU now isn't really geared towards me anymore. Yes, all of the meta commentary is there. All of the Easter eggs are there to be seen. And in this movie, probably more than any other movie, if you know, you picked up a lot of stuff in this film. I have to say, Ruby, my daughter, was kind of like sat there, like, didn't really get a good chunk of the jokes that I was laughing at. I guess she just needs to go back and she needs to watch that original trilogy. She needs to watch those second movies. And then I think she'll get a lot more of the jokes, which she's exactly who these movies are now geared towards. The MCU are gearing towards that audience now. I don't necessarily think they're making it for the guy who started watching the MCU when Iron Man 1 came out. What these movies have meant to so many people over the last 7, 8 to 10 years. What they've meant to those people. And it's now going to mean so much more to a whole new group of people. Like, right, let's talk about Spider-Man.
And now, our feature presentation.
So again, this will be primarily my spoiler-free section of this review. So I will do what I normally do and just kind of go through it, talk about what the plot is. I mean, we kind of already know what the plot was going in when we saw the trailers. And then I'll talk a little bit about characters and cast and what I thought and what I did and didn't like. And then we will get into spoiler territory a little bit later on. But yeah, so basically, you know the story. The story is, it takes up right after Far From Home. It starts up right after that when J. Jonah Jameson is on the screen telling everybody, by the way, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, giving away the big secret to everyone. They kind of are treated like a little bit like celebrities, but also kind of like everyone's weary, like, is Mysterio right about the fact that, like, Peter was killing people and whatnot, and all the kids have applied to MIT, and then they don't get in, basically on the premise that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Ned and MJ are his friends, and they've helped him in the past. So on a technicality, they also don't get in. He has this idea to go and see Doctor Strange and basically ask him to, like, wipe everybody's memory of Peter Parker being Spider-Man, but then starts messing with the spell, and like kind of couple of people still know, can this person knows, and then that causes a whole multiverse implosion thing. And then, I mean, that's the story. We know the story from the trailers. We saw it in the trailers when he's on the bridge. Doc Ock comes out, and then we had the Goblin laughing at him. We've had the sort of the Sandman tease. We know Electro's going to be all over this as well. So that is pretty much it. It turns out that because this has happened, anybody that knows who Peter Parker is, or anybody who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, can now sort of come through dimensional break, I guess. They got words for it, I don't know. It's not really my bag. They have to catch the bad guys, lock them up to send them back. It's pretty much that, which is a pretty basic formula for a movie. And obviously Doctor Strange realizes that they can't be here, so they have to go back to their timelines. But then you sort of begin to realize that they've all been brought from their timelines at the time when they were about to die. So Peter's kind of like, no, I want to help them. And then that's the movie going forward. So let's talk about the cast and the characters. And as you all know from the trailers, we do have Doc Ock. Alfred Molina is back as Doc Ock. And it's like he never left. There is a bit of de-aging technology going on here, which you kind of know from the trailer anyway, because the man is getting on a bit. But you know what? The de-aging technology that they use here to get Doc Ock down to that age again, I thought was pretty bloody good. Not perfect, definitely not perfect, but pretty bloody good. But yeah, they de-age Molina. Molina is kind of the star of the show here. Like, he is the heart of this movie. But he's kind of overshadowed by a couple other things happening as well. Not least of all, Wilem Defoe as the Goblin. He's back as the Goblin. Again, a little bit de-aged, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I think of the de-aging process, he's probably the worst of the two. But it's not terrible. And it's just awesome to see Norman Osborn again. It's just pretty cool to see Wilem Defoe back hamming it up as Norman Osborn. And for my money, kind of stealing the movie. Like, in the trailers, they made it look like this was going to be a big Doc Ock movie. Jamie Foxx is back as Electro. Still don't really get why Electro would come, because they explain to you that the reason they are there is because they know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now, from my recollection of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't think Electro actually knew that Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield, was Spider-Man. So this one confused me a little bit. It did confuse me a little bit, but I'm willing to roll with it. It could be a continuity thing. I can roll with it. It's all good. Other characters, obviously you've got your main three, your trifecta. You have got Tom Holland, you have got Zendaya, and you have got Ned Leeds. I genuinely fell out with Ned during this movie. Really did not think I would ever say this about Ned Leeds. Of the three main characters, he was the one that I thought just, for me, wasn't working. And it's a shame. It's a shame because I loved the character. I loved Ned. The guy in the chair is awesome. But they do something, and we'll talk about it in the spoilers. They do something with his character that it was so left field that I just sat there and almost laughed out loud at the mere suggestion of it. MJ, we find out she definitely is MJ. She is Tom Holland's Mary Jane Watson, but obviously Michelle Jones Watson. We find out that she is a variant of MJ Watson, which is cool. So glad they've done that. Zendaya's firing on all cylinders. Doesn't get a great deal to do in this movie, but she's great with what she does. And Tom Holland, oh my Christ, he is on form in this movie. And this, for me, is the best performance he's had in the MCU so far. Tom Holland kills it in this film. If the Oscars entertain superhero movies, they would entertain his performance in this movie for an award. Genuinely, I think that. I do think that. Obviously, like, Aunt May never really does much, but Marisa Tomei does what she can as pretty much a bystander in these movies. It's great to see J. Jonah Jameson back doing his thing. He gets a little bit more to do in this movie. It's fantastic. J.K. Simmons, you are everybody's Jameson. That nobody will ever play that character as well as he does. So let's talk about what I did and didn't like. And I left out one character because it is something that I didn't really like. Benedict Cumberbatch is good in the movie as Doctor Strange, but I just don't get what they're doing with the character. Like, is he supposed to be an arrogant asshole that we don't really like? He's so arrogant in this movie to think he can do the things that he can do without any real repercussions. I know he's kind of always been an impulsive kind of guy, but this is the guy who searched, 4 billion, million, trillion different outcomes of how to beat Thanos, and then found one and took that one. And after doing all that research, that's when he was like, right, this is the way we have to do it. And even sacrificed himself in Endgame for that end. But it was kind of like, in this movie, Peter Parker's like, oh, so you know how we turned back time to bring back 5 billion people and everything? That was pretty cool. Any chance you could do that to help people forget who I am? And Doctor Strange is like, yeah, why not? Wong's kind of like, yeah, dude, don't do this. You're messing with stuff you shouldn't be messing with. And Doctor Strange still kind of just turns around and goes, yeah, okay, let's do it. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's a device to get you from one place to another. I understand that. I just kind of sat there and thought, really? Doctor Strange is that much of an idiot? That much of an idiot? But what I did love is, without any spoilers, there is a certain point of this movie, I like to call it the halfway point, because as I've already said, this movie is definitely a tale of two separate movies. The first half is kind of Peter trying to get the villains and sort of get them back to send them away, and then starts having a fight with Doctor Strange and everything. But there is an event that happens in the middle of this movie that we will talk about. There is an event that happens, and then the movie kind of switches and becomes this awesome movie for the last hour and 10 minutes. Epic, emotional movie that is the right payoff to the trilogy they've been making. Because make no mistake, there is no doubt in my mind now, as much as I've been a passive watcher of these movies and kind of wondered what John Watt, the director, was doing, they never, to me, felt like an Avengers movie. They never felt like part of the universe. And that's because the genius on this director, the absolute genius. The MCU has so many superheroes and so many guys that we know. We've known them all for a little while now. But what we had at the very start was they got their origin story. Iron Man had an origin story. Hulk had an origin story. Thor, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Black Panther. They've all had origin stories. And they've all taken place in the first movie of their franchise. Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. The Home trilogy. It is Peter Parker's origin story. It's Tom Holland's Spider-Man origin story. Tobey Maguire did it in one movie. Andrew Garfield did it in one movie. Tom Holland got 3. And when you look back at the trilogy, you've done everything they would normally do in one movie. They've done it in 3. And they've crammed in all this awesome stuff on the way. But make no mistake, it's an origin trilogy. I didn't see that in the first movie. I didn't see that in the second movie. And it was a long time into the third movie. He's already Spider-Man when we met him. But he's not Spider-Man until this third movie. I love that. John Watt, I salute you. I don't think this movie is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what I can now think and what I can now see is what you were doing across the 3 movies. And what you were doing was brilliant. It's a stroke of genius in amongst formulaic, generic, not really that entertaining movies as of late. Again, my hat is off to John Watt. I think you've done a wonderful job across all 3 movies. Each movie on its own doesn't really tickle my bones. I like them. There's a lot in there for you. There's Easter eggs all over the place. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you're gonna love them. They're just entertaining as hell. But when I think about the 3 movies all together, this origin trilogy, fantastic. I do think this is a solid movie. There's things that it does that I really don't like, and it makes a lot of the things that happen feel kind of hollow, which in turn made me kind of walk out being totally on the fence. I was 50-50 as to whether or not I liked this movie. But when you get into the spoiler section, I absolutely gush over a lot of the stuff. The fan service is absolutely there. 100% it's there. It's all there for me to enjoy. But when it comes to the actual nuts and bolts of the movie, I don't think the story's that great. Like, yes, we are getting towards a payoff. And when we hit that, I do start to think, like I say, the second half of this movie is great. It's brilliant. It's superb. There's still things that bother me, but it's pretty damn good. It is pretty damn good. And for that reason, I am going to sit on a 4. I can't possibly give this movie a 5 because it's, you know what? It's probably a 3.5 for me. This movie's a 3.5 to a 4. That's all I can say. I don't think it did all that much for me. Was it better than Far From Home? Yes, it was better than Far From Home. Was it better than Homecoming? Yes, it was. Was it as good as the original trilogy? Yeah, I guess. But I don't know, like, I'm looking at this at the point of, like, if you didn't have that original trilogy and if you didn't have the second 2 movies, the Garfield movies, and that's mostly because of the villains, if you didn't have those movies, this movie doesn't really have anything, and it probably would have just been a Sinister Six film, which I'm so hoping we get. Do I like it? Yes. Do I love it? No. I'm a 3.5, possibly 4 kind of guy on this movie. There's enough in there for the geeks and the nerds to love it. I understand why it's getting the ratings and the reviews that it's getting. I'm just not massively on that hype train. This is not a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for me. This is not a 10 out of 10 movie for me. It's not. It really isn't. And I think people, when you watch it a second time, you're probably going to feel a little bit different. Like, I think cooler heads will prevail once the hype train is kind of died off. I do think you should go and see it. I think it's an excellent end to this trilogy. I think John Watts has created a wonderful original origin trilogy, which totally blew me out the water when it comes to it, when I finally actually realized, oh man, that's what he was doing. Like, it wasn't just random genre choices. He's taken the time to build this thing, this young boy turning into, he was basically a spider boy, now he's a Spider-Man. How bad did that sound? Anyway, I'm going to go hit that like, hit that subscribe, and ding that bell. The bell will let you know whenever I drop a brand new episode. There is more incoming. Probably, chances are, I've been recording for like an hour now, so I'm probably going to have to chop this into 2 videos. I do hope you stick around for the spoilers. I hope you go and see the movie. If you do see the movie, let me know in the comments what you thought of the film. We can talk a little bit more about it. That's where the discussion continues. It starts here, but it ends there. Please do all of that amazing stuff, and let's just go and see movies. Movies are an important staple in our lives. Cinema is super duper important, and if we get more and more superhero movies, I'm perfectly happy with that. It's all looking great going into 2022, and I've got some great independent low budget films to talk about. Just some great stuff. It's good.